Oh, thanks for coming. My name's Ian Robertson. I'm a lecturer here at RMIT in the School of Education. To give a little bit about my background, I'm interested in technology, but I'm not a technologist. If something doesn't work on the first or second go, I'm not going to mess around with it. The reason that I've titled this Sustainable E-Learning Practice is because it seems to me that often, and there's been a number of presentations, well-meaning presentations here over the last day and a half, where they're basically pilot projects, and one of the things that people constantly say is that it's a hell of a lot more work. And that's okay for a short while, as we know, but we all end up getting a bit tired. So I'm hoping I'm not going to read from the screen, so I'm going to ask you to multitask a little bit, and so you can read the words and I'll say what I want to say. And if you want to stop me at any stage, then fine. I'm going to do a bit of an introduction as a bit of a background, and then I'm going to stop anyway and say, does anyone want to talk about it, before moving into these are the sorts of things that I do, personal expose. Now, this is a citation from an OECD report in 2005 that looked at 19 institutions, I think across five continents, and this is the conclusion that they drew about the progress of what they called e-learning. And I'm just today going to take e-learning in definition to mean a very broad church of student support, student learning and student assessment activities. I'm not limiting it to anything in particular. If it uses technology, then that's in the ballpark for me today. So and I think that citation fairly much sums up where a lot of people are in terms of thinking about e-learning. That the usual sort of over-optimistic sort of tenors that come from particularly the technophiles in the first place have been replaced by a more, I don't like to call it realistic, but a more considered approach to the use of e-learning, and that it hasn't changed the world as we know it for most people. Typical then of the sorts of things that have been said about e-learning, here are two quotes, one from 2000 and one from about a week ago. The first one is about the distributed learning system that RMIT uses, which is a Blackboard platform. And in 2000 it was claimed there were approximately 20,000 enrolled students, with about 8,000 of them being regular users of the DLS. Now, as of a week ago, the letter came out to all teaching staff, at least in the school, in the portfolio that I'm in, sort of almost pleading that people will at least put course outlines and course announcements on the DLS system. I mean, I think this is typical of the sort of lies that went around. And the OECD also identified a number of barriers to adoption. There's nothing particularly new about those sorts of conclusions. What I'd like to focus on here is what happens to teachers when e-learning is implemented, and it seems to me that one of the problems, which is I guess why I'm talking about sustainability, is burnout. And so this is my list of some of the factors that contribute to burnout. I'm primarily going to talk today about strategies that are not bolt-on strategies. In other words, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to do something else as well. I'll run a discussion board. Well, just as background, you'll all be aware, I would imagine, of this sort of bell curve that talks about different categories of personal innovativeness and personal tendencies to be innovative. And look, if we looked in this room, clearly there'll be a range of people. The fact that you're here probably means that you're in the left-hand part of the graph more than the right-hand. There's also been quite a reasonable amount of work done in a general sense, but also by Rogers in terms of diffusion of innovation, in terms of looking at some of the criteria that are important in terms of whether practitioners use technologies on a regular basis or not. In terms of the sort of personal practices that I engage with in order to try and make to make practice sustainable, I try to avoid infrastructure frustration. Now that doesn't mean that I want to necessarily avoid organisational systems and policies and procedures entirely, but there are places where they simply get in the way of doing things quickly. There's a whole load of red tape involved, there are checks and balances, and so certainly here it can take months in order to be able, the timelines are often months if you want to do something. Firewalls we all know about, and just at a personal level, just a complete lack of resources available. Even to get $100 to do something is a real drama. So often you're looking for something free. Avoiding overwork, and basically the way it seems to me is that it comes down to the KISS principle: keep it simple, stupid type principle. And the simpler I can keep it, the more sustainable it sort of seems to be. Now,